The Dinkytown Mystery, written by Steve Ramsdell, with voice actors Steve Ramsdell, Tim Ramsdell, and Kelly Nugent, edited by Mike Ramsdell.
It is time for me to drift onto the unknown. And maybe I've seen too much. Maybe I need to be alone. But it's you who traveled a long, long way from here. We had our ups and downs. You always made it clear.
Dinkytown's name does not come in the usual way from its past, but is a result of its future. Officially, no one knows the exact beginnings of the quaint neighborhood with its mix of old and new retail businesses located on the northeast side of greater Minneapolis, and how it got its name. But that's because, as I said, it wasn't named in the usual manner. A little over a year ago, I forced myself to visit my cousin in the hospital, cancer ward. Here's a great guy dying just so that the backward healthcare industry can make more money. The entire multi-billion-dollar sham should be called sick care, since the only point is to provide drugs, tests, and treatments, but not cures. Heaven's sake, no, that would be a very bad thing for business. But that's a whole other bitch. So, trying not to become infected by osmosis as I walk down the dimly lit hallway, I make a mental note to be positive and comforting when I enter Chuck's room. I can tell that he's a little surprised to see me, and after the brief and awkward exchange of, "Sorry, man, I really wish you were well and out of this place," and "Yeah, me too," we're just sitting there in silence. I mean, what can you say? At least the boob tube is on. Chuck and I stare at it, but the program is not much better than the commercials, and both fail to register any real meaning for us. A nurse comes in with some pills, some more shallow and brief exchanges. She leaves. I can see him wince now and then and notice his eyes glaze over a bit. I know I've been there only a few minutes, and I'm still thinking about leaving. Can't completely get away from the belief that hospitals are the best place to go if you want to get sick and die. I think he can tell I'm getting antsy. I see his hand search for the TV remote, find it, and lift it as if it's heavy. I watch as he clicks through a few channels, then stops on one of those new nostalgia networks. Turns out that for a significant and growing segment of modern society, finding quality television entertainment means going back to the 50s and the 60s and 70s. I'm wondering if this is my cue to ease on out as the last of a slew of commercials ends, and I hear the old and distantly familiar opening strains of the Perry Mason theme, the hour-long murder mystery / courtroom drama series. So now I'm debating whether to stay and watch the show with him, but before I can decide, the tube goes dark, and I see him push the remote away. Maybe he just wants to try to sleep.
"Listen,"
he says, just above a whisper. I glance over, and he's staring straight up at the ceiling. A long moment goes by, and I'm not real sure that he's going to say anything else.
"I'm really glad you came. I was hoping you would. A couple of things I want to tell somebody."
Okay, sure. I'm thinking this could be interesting. They say people often like to clear their conscience on their deathbeds.
Donut burgers.
Huh? He takes a deeper breath and seems to gather some strength.
A hole in the middle of the beef patty. You can put the ketchup there. Don't like the way all the good stuff gets squished off the sides, and you're left with nothing but a dry center finish.
Oh, okay, yeah. Good idea. Burgers with a hole in the middle. I'll open a McDonald's and put a memorial plaque on the wall for you.
Thanks. That'd be nice.
The slightest upturn of his mouth for a moment makes me feel a little better for coming.
It's something else.
I sit quietly and wait. There's another long pause with nothing said, but I can be patient. It's the least I can do.
You remember that lost treasure story I told you about a long time ago?
I'm searching my memory and a file comes up with potential. You mean the Confederate gold?
Yeah.
I remember you and Grandpa telling us one of those tall tales. Supposed to be a payload of gold hidden in an underwater cave on some old man's property in North Florida somewhere. That's the one?
Yeah.
Let's see if I remember any more details. It was during the Civil War, of course. The Confederate Army was about to be overrun, so they dispatched a wagon loaded down with gold bars and found a place to stash the loot, keep it away from the Union Army.
Yeah.
That was one of yours and Grandpa's better stories. He doesn't say anything. I'm wondering if that's it. Donut burgers and buried gold.
Maybe it's there.
I glance over and raise an eyebrow.
Maybe not. Probably not. But I have to wonder.
Well, which is it? I need to know so I can round up the boys and some heavy-duty pickups, and we'll need tarps and diving gear. I see another slight smile break on his face.
Thanks for coming. You always made me laugh.
No problem. A few more minutes of listening to the AC humming and medical marvels beeping, machines of magic, the only results allowed from the billions of dollars of medical research and the zillions of brain cells committed to uncovering the mysteries of diseases that should have long since been cured and eradicated from the face of the earth. And then my friend, this good man, would not be here now, suffering and dying. Chuck takes a sip of water, clears his throat. He turns his head my way.
Some things I've told you were exaggerations. You know that, right?
Well, sure, I do now. But when I was a kid, I believed every word. Wrestling 15-foot gators, shooting out tires on smugglers' planes, patrol cars swallowed up in quicksand. There's a smile and a little, as he remembers.
Yeah, some of that. I flowered up a little bit.
That's okay. They were some great stories. Chuck turns back to looking up at the ceiling. 2 long minutes pass. I have a feeling he's considering something.
I time traveled.
Ahem. I turn to clear my throat. Did you just say that you time traveled?
I did. Just once.
Oh, just once. Well, if it was just once, then no big deal. I search his face, but I don't see any sign that he's pulling my leg once more for old time's sake. You serious? Or is this the pain medication talking?
You remember hearing about that time I got struck by lightning?
Yeah, I do. Nearly killed you. I don't remember anything about time travel.
Never told anyone. Not Elsie. Not Bess. No one.
I see. Probably a good decision. This time there's no reaction to my attempt at a little dry humor. On the one hand, I'm quite honored to be the one to hear this confession. On the other hand, I wonder if he might be losing his hold on reality. But then, as he begins to tell his amazing story, there's a striking matter-of-factness to his narrative. His mind seems clear. His speech, though sometimes low or halted, is coherent and firm.
I know my time is near. I gotta tell someone what happened before I go.
I turn my chair more his way and listen carefully. A fleeting thought goes through my mind. I should be recording this. Chuck resettles in the bed and begins to reveal this extraordinary event that he has kept secret until the end.
It's August 23rd, 1973. I'm on the 8th hole at Inverary, the executive course. I'm already up $50 on your dad and Jackie.
Gleason? As chief of police, my father had met and become good buddies with the city's most famous resident celeb. In the 70s, the annual Jackie Gleason Inverary Golf Classic brought in a lot of B-list movie and television stars, and even on one occasion, the President of the United States of America. Ford had actually eaten breakfast in my dad's kitchen.
Yeah, the great one. As you might guess, we're all hitting the booze early, so no double bogey is usually good enough to win the hole.
Sounds like them.
So the weather starts to go bad pretty fast. You know how it builds up and moves in quick?
I nod. Yeah, you can set your clock by the Florida afternoon thunderstorms. He gives me a surprisingly strong nod back. The story is giving him some energy.
So it gets a bit gusty and starts to drizzle, but no lightning yet. Still, Chief and Jackie want to call it quits. Fine with me, I tell them, but they still owe me the $50. They balk and stammer, and then come up with some BS about the bad weather being an act of God. Plus, we haven't played half the holes, so it doesn't count.
Chuck picks up his water cup and sees it's empty.
Would you mind getting me some more water?
Sure. I hop up and fill the plastic cup with what I hope is purified water. Florida Tap is heavily chlorinated to mask the citrus and sugar industry's pesticides, the cattle business's fertilizers, the population's pollution, and who knows what else. You have to hope against hope that a hospital at least filters the water. He sips a little, then hands the cup back. I set it on the side of the end table and step over to the window. I see the yellow glow of the street lamp 5 floors below, valiantly pushing back some of the night that hangs heavy over the parking lot. So they tried to weasel out, eh?
You got it. Like they couldn't afford it. The tightwads.
That makes me smile. I turn around and lean back against the windowsill. My attention is drawn back, for no particular reason, to the end table. And now I notice that there is just one lonely get-well card lying there. One of the downsides to outliving your peers and being part of a clan with weak family ties. My cousin shifts his position again, trying to find a new spot and a bed that knows his every move. He closes his eyes, raises a finger. I can only imagine the pain he's going through. He opts not to increase the morphine drip. Apparently, the information he wants to pass along is worth the torment of remaining lucid. After a few moments, he lays the finger at his side and begins again, slowly opening his eyes.
So, I talk him into playing one more hole, double or nothing. And you know what those son of a bitches do?
Run off.
Damn straight. We tee off. I'm in the rough left of the fairway. They're supposed to be somewhere off to the right, probably out of bounds. But when I look over, there goes that goofy Rolls-Royce golf cart over the hill, headed for the clubhouse.
I can picture that.
Yeah, Well, I say hell with them and figure I'll play out the hole and force them to pay up.
So how'd you do?
Well, the leading edge of the storm front is advancing on me fast. The wind is gusting and swirling, and you can feel the electricity in the air. My second shot hits the beach back of the green. I'm pissed. Get up there. Grab my pitching wedge instead of my sand wedge. Rush the shot and fly the pin. Made a decent recovery, though, and laid up. Then finished the double bogey. Like I said, good enough to beat those two if they'd had the balls to play it out.
Good for you.
Yes and no. By that time, it's a downpour, and the lightning has begun to close in. Flash. Boom.
His eyes pop a bit as he breathes life into the story. Breaths that I wonder if he can spare.
I take one look at that exposed bridge over the canal leading back to the clubhouse, and I think it's a bad idea. Instead, I pull my cart under one of those big banyan trees. Figure I'll wait for a little break and then make a dash for it.
That's when you got struck, right?
Yep. One moment, I'm behind the wheel. Next thing I know, I'm waking up on the ground next to a big piece of fallen timber that is still smoking.
Pretty much that's the story I remember. He nods in agreement, then lies still for a moment. I'm about to feel a bit disappointed or cheated when he continues.
I always left out the part about time traveling. I swear it happened. And it was real. Of course, I know it sounds crazier than a coot on a corn mash, but it happened.
Hey, I'm a big believer in anything's possible. History is smack full of lessons and warnings that making statements about, what can never be is one sure way to be proven a fool.
Someone doing it often interrupts the person saying it can't be done.
Exactly.
Well, my friend, you ain't seen nothing yet.
You mean what the future will bring?
Uh-huh.
Well, I don't know. With the way new stuff keeps popping up almost daily, the level of surprise is dropping off as each new gizmo is introduced. I mean, new inventions just don't seem to be as amazing as they used to be.
So, you're not interested?
Well, no, I didn't say that. I'd love to get a peek into the future. Can you tell me what the lotto numbers are for tomorrow night?
What would you do with all that money?
Don't worry about that. I got plans, big plans.
Sure you do. But it wasn't like that.
Chuck makes an effort to prop himself up. I'm quick to help, slipping a pillow behind his back, wishing I could do more, like wave a Star Trek medical tricorder over him and make him well again.
My experience was somewhat limited, you understand. I saw some things, and I did some things. In one sense, it was an eventful trip. But, in another sense, it was over pretty quick.
Okay. Well, what did you see?
Drones, robots, and lots of wizards behind the curtains. Looks like the dawn of an age of machines is coming soon.
Really?
Afraid so.
All right then. Well, tell me all about it. I glance at my watch and see that there's just under an hour left of visiting hours. I hope it's enough. He catches me checking the time but doesn't mention it.
Okay, I will.
Telling the story is giving him strength. I can see a reminder of the practically indestructible man that I used to know, and I can't help but think of the way a falling star will brighten just before it flames out.
Well, the first thing I remember happening, I'm on an airplane. I'm coming in for a landing at Minnesota St. Paul Airport. I'm sitting on the aisle, third row, business class. Must be a light load, because there's only an older couple to my left. One row up, and then a single, a woman, on the window in the first row on my side.
That's a pretty detailed picture you're painting.
You have to understand, this was not like a dream, where things are fuzzy around the edges or stupid stuff happens that don't make sense. It was real, and it felt like normal to me.
Well, did you know you were time traveling? At the time, I mean?
Okay. There were some strange parts. I knew it was a different time, some point in the not too distant future, but I felt like I belonged there. The differences, the new stuff, the gizmos and other changes, all felt natural. It was like, even though it was the first time I was seeing stuff, I accepted that it was a part of everyone's ordinary life, including my own, sort of.
Sounds pretty strange, but who knows how it's supposed to be when you time travel. So, you had a sense that you were living in this other time or just visiting?
Kind of both. I'm sitting there on the plane, making the final approach for landing, and it's okay, basically. There's a video screen on the back of the seat in front of me, with a view from a nose camera on the front of the plane. I can see the runway in the distance and the ground coming up closer.
That's cool.
Cool, but a little unnerving. Anyway, I can hear and feel the wheels drop down and lock when I glance around and I see this other small aircraft pacing alongside us, a few feet outside the window across from me. Looked like some kind of mini flying saucer. Then I noticed that the couple are now crowding their window. At first I thought they were just checking out the little buddy flying with us. But then I see that they're posing. There's a flash of light from the little craft. It slides out of view, and then I see the couple check their cell phone. And I can just hear, "Gotcha, Granddad."
Whoa, a drone snapshot. That's a ballsy stunt.
Just what I was thinking. I glance around the cabin and see the two flight attendants sitting in their jump seats, engaged in conversation and oblivious. Then I notice the woman in the front row is using her compact mirror to check me out. Our eyes lock, and yeah, I know it's corny to say it this way, but I don't know how else to describe it. It was magical.
Chuck's face softens, and for a moment his smile is genuine and the only thing that matters. Uh-huh. And she's beautiful, too, right?
Yes, she is. In a subdued kind of way.
You dreamt the whole thing, Chuck. Chuck gives a slight laugh and coughs, takes a deep breath, closes his eyes, and lays his head back. I wait a long minute, Then I offered to call it a night. I can come back tomorrow. You need to rest.
He
seems to be thinking it over.
Tomorrow.
I know we're both wondering if there'll be a tomorrow opportunity. Chuck takes another deep breath, exhales slowly and completely, then opens his eyes and looks at me in a meaningful way.
Let me give you the short or shorter version now.
You sure?
Yeah. I'll give you the more details and answer your questions tomorrow. But I'd like to get the main gist of it off my chest now.
Okay. I'll just listen and try not to comment.
Good luck with that.
I smile. He knows me well enough. Chuck slides up in the bed and takes some deep breaths. He looks my way, and I can see more energy in his eyes now.
So, the plane lands. The old couple are the first off, then the woman and me. Now, at the end of the ramp tunnel, about 50 feet before you come out into the terminal, there's a biosecurity scanner. We all pass through like it's nothing. But a few moments later, the alarm goes off for someone that had been further back on the plane. They close off the ramp exit. The moderately busy terminal becomes a bit chaotic, with people hurrying this way and that.
I consider a comment, but stifle it.
The woman grabs my arm and pulls me toward the family restroom. We duck inside. She says nothing but guides me into the single handicap stall.
Chuck pauses for effect.
Now, here comes the strange part.
I smile and settle back into my chair, trying to prepare myself for what might come next.
Well, the short and sweet of it is, we do the deed.
Nice.
Hey, what was I gonna do? Say no?
Of course not. No reason to say no.
Exactly. It's hard to explain, but we had a connection. Something deep and beautiful. It was like nothing I ever experienced before.
Obviously.
Anyway, a little later, as we left the airport, I found out her name. Tiba. She's Romanian. She and her sister Tila have a pet palace franchise in a throwback township about 50 miles outside of Vegas.
A what ship?
A throwback township. I'll explain. So, she's in the Twin Cities to pick up a car that she bought online from an estate sale. A super sweet 1973 Pontiac Ventura. Mint green with some nice wide rim Kragers. She shows me a picture on her purse pad. It's a tablet built into her handbag.
That's reasonable. I can't help but wonder if I should be making certain stock investments tomorrow. Chuck is quiet again for the moment. The story is a workout for him, and I don't want to push him, so I sit quietly and wait.
One of the odder things.
Chuck gives me a look is identical to the look I got once from Elvis Presley. Working as stage-side security halfway through a concert near the end of his unmatched career, Elvis looks my way. And of course, he knows I've been in a battle keeping the crazed women from climbing onto the stage and attacking him. And he gives me the exact same look, like he was saying, "Something else, isn't it, kid?" Chuck was no Elvis. But then who is? Still, that look was the same. And sometimes things happen in life that are just bigger, just extraordinary.
One of the odder things,
Chuck repeats for emphasis.
is that my purpose seems to be simply to go with Tiba. She never asked anything about me. Doesn't seem to matter. It's like it's pointless to ask about things or to talk about things that are already known, in a sense.
Okay. That's a little odd. But if that's the way it is.
Yeah. Well, that afternoon, we picked up the Pontiac. We take a 30-minute cab ride to a little neighborhood on the north side of the university, to an old farmhouse just outside of the main streets. A middle-aged woman meets us and takes us around to a small, half-dilapidated garage, overrun inside and out with odds and ends of a time gone by. You remember your grandfather's garage?
Oh, yeah. A completely unorganized, overflowing hodgepodge of trinkets and treasures, tools and projects. Who knows what else?
The same. And in the center of the garage, a canvas-covered car. Tiba and I helped the woman remove the canvas and reveal this remarkably well-kept, half-century-old car.
The Ventura. Chuck nods.
Tiba checks it out, and I take the opportunity to take a brief look around. There's something strange about this place. Can't put my finger on it at first, until I see an old photograph in a frame hanging a bit uneven above a work counter. And you know, I remember this part of the whole deal very clearly.
I lean forward in my chair.
The woman sees me eyeing the picture and tells me that the man in the picture is her grandfather. She says his name is Gila Grodnik. She doesn't say his name was. She says his name is. But at the same time, it's somehow clear that he has passed on. She tells me that Gila was one of the real pioneers in the area. The faded picture shows a sturdy fella in a long-sleeved shirt, overalls, and a ball cap, with one arm stretched out and his hand resting on the trunk of a big oak tree. A tree with a giant, jagged split running down that trunk. The woman takes down the picture and holds it lovingly, turns it my way, says, "That's Grandpa's lighting a tree. He was just a few feet away when the bolt struck. Knocked him right out of his boots. Almost lost him then." "So he was okay?" I asked her. "Yes," she replies, "but different after that." Tiba joins us and hands the woman an envelope of cash, then asks, "Different? How so?" The woman hands over her own envelope, telling Tiba that the bill of sale and paperwork is all there. She doesn't count the cash Tiba gave her, just puts it in the back pocket of her jeans. She returns the photograph to the place on the nail, careful to hang it evenly, and tells us, "Grandpa became more quiet, more peaceful. I can remember times sitting on the back porch with him, just watching the day draw to a close. Sometimes I would see him staring off to some place in the distance, or beyond that, and his face would soften, and if he said anything, it was just something like, 'Beautiful.'" Tiba reaches out and touches the woman's hand gently and says to her, "I understand." They share a moment. Then Tiba asks her, "Grodnik, was he Romanian or Russian?" "Russian," the woman replies. "You know the name?" Tiba tells her that the name is a bit familiar to her and her family from the old country. She says that Gila's ancestors must have come from a small town like hers, since that is how the name translates. Grad, meaning town, and Nick, meaning small. A few minutes later, we say our goodbyes. I throw our bags in the back seat of the Pontiac and we're off, cruising down the road, heading west out of town. That evening, we hit an A&W drive-in in Des Moines. Keep going, spend the night at a resident inn on the south side of Lincoln, Nebraska. Nice fireplace.
Chuck gave me that slight knowing look again.
Got a late start the next day.
I smile back and comment, a road trip. A time travel road trip. Why not?
Yeah, it was really nice. We would talk about things very easy and comfortable, like we belonged together. And then again, we would not talk at all for a while, but was still easy and comfortable.
Uh-huh. I'm pretty much hooked and completely believing the whole story now.
You know how those old cars have bench seats instead of the bucket seats?
Uh-huh.
Well, we're rolling down the highway. She slides over to me, stays there pretty much the whole trip. We even had a trooper pull up alongside us, and he just looks over and smiles and drives on.
Nice to know there are still some good cops out there with their priorities straight. Chuck nods slightly, adding,
Although, now that I think of it, I'm not sure that cars of the future even have seat belts. Anyway, skipping ahead here. On the morning of the third day, the next weird thing happens.
I can't help myself. The next weird thing? The whole thing is weird, Chuck. But excellent. Please keep going.
Okay, well, this is when we're leaving Denver and passing through the Rocky Mountains. All of a sudden, there's a bright flare-like fire thingy shooting up in the sky, maybe a half mile ahead. But the flare becomes a sky banner projector kind of thing. An accident ahead warning message.
That's cool.
We get to the scene. There's a woman flagging people down. I roll down the window, and she's pleading, I need a doctor. My husband is not breathing. Are you a doctor? I open the door and get out. I say to the woman, maybe I can help. Part of me is thinking I have some training and experience. Least I can do is CPR. But another part of me is not thinking that at all. It's just a feeling, knowing that I can help. I get to the car. It's not damaged. It stopped itself when the driver collapsed. The door's open, and the man is slumped over the wheel. I take a breath, reach in and grab him tightly by the shoulders. There's a very quick little flash of white light and a jolt. Electricity, you know. I lean the man back in his seat, and his eyes open, and he starts breathing again. Nice and regular.
Wow. Okay. That somehow connects to the lightning strike, right? Chuck shrugs his shoulders.
Guess so.
Oh, good thing you came along. When you did, the way you did. Reminds me a little of that old show with, what's his name? He was also the guy in the Star Trek prequel series thing. Bakula. Scott Bakula. Quantum Leap. I can see that Chuck is taking a break, so I keep going. So maybe that was it. You got hit by lightning for a reason. so you could jump in time to be there for this poor guy and save his life. Chuck again shrugs his shoulder, but I take the opportunity to try and make him smile again. And why do you have to save this guy? Why is it so important? Well, because. I stand up and start to pace a little. Because this guy is a Secret Service agent. Yeah, that's the ticket. Assigned to the presidential detail, and the next day he leaps in front of the president, taking a bullet for him, and prevents a world war. Of course. That's it. But it sucks.
It's crazy. Why does it suck?
Because, man, no one knows about it. You don't get the credit. You don't get the fame and the fortune and the girls. He smiles. I succeeded. I move to the window again. It's splattered with water droplets sliding down the outside and falling from the ledge into the shrubbery below. It's the kind of light rain that can come and go for hours. I hear a light knock on the room's already open door and turn to see a nurse's aide standing there.
Hello there. Just checking to see if you need anything. Can I bring you gentlemen anything?
She's youthful and perky, but a bit older than most in her line of work. And I have to guess, new to it. Perhaps it's volunteer work. She obviously means well and wants to do good, but like a moth to a flame, she is sure to be poorly affected the longer she stays, the nearer she moves toward the sadness and sickness so prevalent in this environment. Chuck clears his throat, then asks,
Some ice for the water.
Sure, I can do that.
She takes the water pitcher from the tray on wheels. Perhaps she'll escape and recover somewhere else. I hope so. She turns to me with an honest look of inquiry. I shake my head and offer a reserved smile.
Be right back.
She cheerfully promises and slips out the door. I watch her leave and then realize Chuck is staring at me. What?
Go for it. While you can.
Probably too young for me.
You mean too sweet and cheery?
That too. I lean back and settle into the window frame, half of my butt resting on the sill. Imagine that I can almost feel the rain softly impacting the window at my back. Can we get back to the story, or was that the end of it? You clicked your heels, repeated, "There's no place like home," 3 times, and poof, you're back on the 9th hole, murmuring, "Antiam, Antiam."
Not quite.
With some effort, Chuck leans forward, reaches back, and fluffs up his pillows. I feel like I should help again, but no, it could actually make him feel worse. He was always a stout and self-reliant man's man. Let him have that, all the way to the end.
Okay. Now we continue our trip. It's a great time. Good food, good conversation, good company.
You mean good sex? An actual small laugh this time.
That too.
He copies me. I nod in recognition of his touche.
We turn off the main highway before reaching Vegas, headed southeast toward Little Lake, Las Vegas. Tiba and her sister have a nice ranch house on the outskirts of the little town near there that has brought back most of the old ways of the middle of the last century. A throwback township by the name of Taylorville.
Ah, very interesting.
Yep. It's pretty much the best place you could imagine. And several things happen there.
Like what?
Well, lots of things. For instance, the first afternoon, Tila, and I take a walk to Main Street. Enjoy an afternoon dinner at the diner. Meatloaf, mashed potatoes, green corn, green beans, soft roll, iced tea, and apple pie a la mode.
Damn, that sounds good.
And get this, the diner has an old jukebox. And I ain't kidding you. The A1 selection is the Statler Brothers tune, Maple Street Memories.
No, that old song? Chuck just nods and eases out a little smile. He's truly enjoying telling this story. I guess in a way, it doesn't really matter if it's true or not. So you're saying that this place, this throwback township, Taylorville, is like a recreation of the place in that song, and not so much by coincidence, but by design.
Yes, it is. And I can see it very clearly, even now. So beautiful. It's summertime, maybe going towards fall, and as the late afternoon sun is dropping on the horizon, just starting to give way to a peaceful twilight, the three of us walk down the tree-lined sidewalk. The air is fresh, clean, and slowly turns a bit cooler. We hear a train whistle coming out of the low hills in the south, so we hurry up to the crossing and lie back on the embankment alongside the railroad tracks as a 100-car freight rolls through. We're so close, you can feel the earth shake and the little gusts of wind jump out from under and in between the cars as they rumble along.
I nod, bouncing my head slightly up and down, easily picturing the whole scene.
After the train passes, some boys ride by on Stingray bicycles. You remember the ones with the banana seat and the sissy bars?
Sure do. Had one. Loved it.
Well, the boys chase down the good humor truck as it rolls along with its jaunty tune pouring out of the rooftop speaker. I'm wondering if they'll get an orange creamsicle, or a strawberry shortcake, or a blueberry twin pop. Then I see some other kids are playing kick the can, running across the lawns, jumping over the old push reel lawnmower, darting behind the chrome bumper of the old Delta 88, crouching behind the azalea bushes, shimmying up the apple tree, and all the while one boy is sitting on a kickball, hands covering his eyes, counting to 100 by fives. I'll tell you, I have the strongest urge to run and join them.
Surprised you didn't. There's a pause, and I look at him questioningly. Did you?
I did.
A slightly sheepish grin and the briefest twinkle in his eye as he confesses.
It was so much fun. Me and a kid named Frankie hide behind a short flowered wall on the side of a white house with yellow trim shutters. Sure enough, Bobby, the kid trying to find everyone, goes just a little too far looking around the other side of the yard, and, like greyhounds out of the gate, Frankie and I are on a dead run for the unguarded ball. My legs can't keep up with my enthusiasm, and I go tumbling, rolling down the little hill to the sidewalk. But Freddie beats Bobby to that ball and gives it a heck of a kick. All the kids that are in jail bolt to find new hiding places, as it looks like that ball is going to be bouncing down the street forever. That's when two girls on scooters stop to catch the ball and bring it back to Bobby. I'm too slow to find a new hiding spot, and the first one in jail this time. Tiba and Tila are laughing and enjoying the whole scene as they casually chat with friends passing by. Luckily, it's not long before the can is kicked again and I'm free. I pat the grass off my jeans, wave goodbye to the kids, and rejoin Tiba and Tila, and we continue on to the park. As we approach, you can smell the hot dogs and the popcorn. We pass by the community pool and then the ball field. And here's something you'd like. There's a co-ed slow pitch game going on. They have a Sort of automated machine robot like thing calling balls and strikes.
A robot ump?
Yep, working with the help of a hologram.
Huh? Chuck adjusts his position slightly, then explains.
We stop and watch for a couple of minutes. The pitcher lobs the ball so that it passes through a hologram. A short, arched, transparent tunnel-like thing that is projected in the air just before home plate. If the softball touches the sides of the hologram, the robot calls out a ball, and the hologram lights up in a blue shade. If not, strike in a red shade.
Anyone kick sand on the robot? Again, a slight smile graced his face.
No, none of that. It's a friendly game.
I nod, and he continues.
We stroll on past the meadow. Some folks are setting up the campfire, and families are spreading out blankets and settling in for the outdoor movie. I ask a man throwing a frisbee with his dog, "What's the movie tonight?" He says it's a Tom Hanks double feature with Toy Story 5 and Typhoon Lagoon.
Of course. I slowly shake my head. Again, why not?
We make our way over to the lighted dance pavilion. A country band is playing an old familiar tune that I can't quite recognize. Maybe Patsy Cline or Loretta Lynn. We find an empty bench and sit for a while, talking and saying hello to the folks strolling along.
Sounds real nice. Wish I could have been there.
You will be.
What? Chuck looks straight at me.
I saw you there.
What?
Yep. After the sunset, we walked down by the lake, and there you are, bringing in a rowboat, pulling it up onto the shore.
Wow. What the hell am I doing there? I mean, what the hell will I be doing there?
You know, most people think time travel would really mess things up, get things all complicated and disturb timelines and history changes and stuff.
Well, yeah.
No, not so much. There's more to it than that. And yet, there's a simplicity to the complexities.
I have to give Chuck a quizzical look as if I'm not quite sure who I'm talking with. How's that, Master Poe? Chuck leans back, looks to the ceiling, and in a quieter voice says,
Give me a minute, Grasshopper, and I'll try to explain. Wonder where's that?
As if on cue, the nurse's aide knocks and enters carrying the pitcher of ice water.
So sorry. We had a problem with Mr. Cordley. A real icky mess. But that's all over now, and here I am.
I have to admit that her energy lifts the general gloom in the room. She pours some ice water into a cup and brings it to Chuck.
There you go.
Chuck sips a little.
Is that better now?
Yes, thank you.
Chuck sets the cup down on the little table.
Listen, my friend here is wondering if you would like to go on a date.
Chuck? Hey! I'm a little shocked, but knowing him as I do, not really that surprised.
Well, I don't know.
She's checking me out, giving me a closer inspection. I'm feeling a bit exposed.
Listen, he's a good guy. You'll have a nice time, and you'll be glad that you met each other. Trust me, I know about these things.
Chuck, come on, man.
I do just love going to movies.
She looks my way. Her eyes are soft and kind.
Do you like going to movies?
I start to respond, but Chuck continues his instant matchmaking.
He's nuts about going to movies. It's one of his favorite things to do. And it's a shame that anyone has to go to the movies by themselves. So, how about Friday night?
Well,
She looks my way again and considers it.
they're showing a Jimmy Stewart classic at the Shadowwood this weekend. The shop around the corner. with Margaret Sullivan. In fact, it's a double bill with Harvey. You know, the one about the puka? The 6-foot-tall invisible rabbit?
6 feet, 3.5 inches. I can't stop myself from adding and confessing. She laughs a little and says,
That's right. You do know the one. All right, then. It's a date.
Put her number in your phone.
Chuck directs me as if I have no other choice. For just a moment, though, I hold my ground. The girl is pretty, and now that I look closer, there's a slight sense of more maturity and a deeper soul. How old are you? I ask. She gives me a half-haughty look and replies,
Old enough. 4 years out of college, if you must know.
Okay. I'm still about a dozen years her senior, but hey, who knows? I pull out my phone. Chuck finishes another sip of water and offers,
Let me tell you both something. Age is not as important as you think it is. And you're not the age you think you are.
I hand my phone to her. She taps it easily and in a moment hands it back. I see my new contact is Marilyn, 954-344-2882. I reach out my hand. Trent. Her grip is soft, but sure and warm. A nice start, I'm thinking. Chuck looks on with an expression of approval.
Do either of you know that the great ball player Satchel Paige once asked a very wise question about age? He posed the query, how old would you be if you didn't know how old you was? Now, he got it right.
Maybe I should listen to the advice of a man in Chuck's position, with his experiences, particularly one.
You know, it's past visiting hours now,
Marilyn looks from Chuck to me.
but I don't think anyone will mind if you stay a little longer.
Thank you, I tell her as I walk with her to the door and step outside. I feel as if I'm standing too close to her, but don't want to move. I tell her, I won't stay much longer, but it's important that I talk with him now. She looks me so directly in the eyes.
I know.
I'll call you tomorrow, Marilyn. She smiles, turns away, and heads back towards the nurse's station. I have that old, nearly forgotten, wonderful feeling easing back in, that feeling of wanting to be with a certain person and not be away from them. I let myself think that she may have felt something too. Maybe not, but maybe. Then I glance around, see the frosted light panels in the low ceiling, coldly covering the whitish fluorescent tubes, and the two-tone lemon yellow walls, and the hard tile flooring that has borne the weight of too much suffering. If nothing else, maybe I can rescue her from this place. I re-enter the room. Chuck is not there. The bed is empty. I almost start to wonder if he might be time traveling again when I hear the toilet flush and the water run in the bathroom sink. I head over to the window again, grateful for its ability to counter my feelings of claustrophobia. Like many comets, little raindrops streak through the light of the street lamps. The parking lot below is empty now, except for my white with a red pinstripe 68 Ford Fairlane 500 convertible, waiting patiently for me a few rows out. Good thing I put the top up. I hear the bathroom door close and turn to see Chuck working his way back to the bed. Whether he likes it or not, I step over and help him. There's a little bit of sweat on his forehead by the time he's settled in. He ignores his condition.
So, where'd we leave off?
Well, no place special. At the park, at the lake, looking at me.
Yep, you. But I'm not going to tell you the next part.
What? Why not?
Because I don't need to. You'll find out when you get there.
Oh, now that's crap. That's not right. At least tell me if I was with someone.
You're going to see that girl? Keep your date?
Who? Marilyn? I shrug my shoulders. Yeah. And thanks. I owe you.
More than you know, my friend.
Jeez. Maybe you could give a guy a break here with all this mystery and holding back and teasing.
Well, what I will tell you is still interesting, isn't it?
Of course. I move over to the other side of the bed, drop down into the semi comfortable half circle microfiber chair that I now notice is red in color. Red's a good color for hospital rooms, hides the blood better. Chuck takes a few slow and deep breaths. It makes me think of a thoroughbred turning for home.
Okay, well, jumping ahead a little. On my last night with Tiba, we go to a lounge, the Red Lantern Inn. We have a few drinks, enjoy listening to a woman by the name of Dorleen singing her little heart out. Her sweet voice fills the room with the old classic siren songs, I'll Remember You, and Sentimental Journey, and of course that one from your favorite old movie,
That look again.
As Time Goes By. We dance. It is quite simply a perfect time.
There's a deep smile on Chuck's face. The power of the memories of the future are stronger than the pain in his dying body. He closes his eyes and seems at ease for the first time during my visit. When he speaks again, his voice is clear, slow, but clear.
In our bed, later that night, Tiba is unusually quiet. I'm not going to press her, but then she rolls over onto my chest, closes her hand over mine, and in her matter-of-fact way asks me, what name shall we give our child?
Chuck opens his eyes and stares at the ceiling. I fall back in the chair. I'm speechless for a moment. Whoa. Oh, that's heavy. Let me get this straight. You're saying that you time traveled into the future and fathered a child in the future. But then you come back to this time period, and then you... He nods, turns his head my way, and I can see nothing but truth in his eyes.
I live for a while, then die.
Silence falls over the room. What can I say? Moments pass, and the silence persists, as if nothing else will happen or can happen. I have 100 thoughts racing through my head, questions that I want to ask. But I can sense that it may be pointless to try to figure it all out now. I can see that Chuck is spent. The amazing energy he has called up is slipping away quickly. Finally, he speaks to me. This time his voice wavers a little.
Thank you for coming. You're a good man, a good family.
I have to fight back the moisture in my eyes. No, Chuck, you're a good man and the best family. Chuck turns and, with some difficulty, pulls open a drawer of the end table. He fishes out a small envelope and hands it to me.
Read it later, okay?
I see my name on the outside of the envelope. I tell my cousin, sure thing. I stand and step over to the bed and take his hand in mine and give him one last firm, manly man's handshake. He returns the grip with the last of that strength I will always remember him for. We both know we're saying a final goodbye. I release his hand and slowly ease away for the door. I open it.
Trent.
Yeah, Chuck? Chuck's last words to me.
Be a friend for Taylor. You'll be good for her. I know that you'll be fair and entertaining when you tell her about her father.
I don't fully understand, but I nod, steel myself with some effort, and force a little smile. I answer back, "Of course, I will." Chuck's eyes close. I back out and close the door. A few long minutes later, I sit in my car, its throwback engine purring like it's still new. The raindrops steadily pattering the nylon roof comfort me somehow as I flip on the interior light and read the note that Chuck gave me. My dear friend, what you know, what you are aware of now, is but a fraction of what you will know, which is itself but a fraction of what there is to know. What you need to know now is that your concerns are significant to you for a reason. But if I can pass on to you a little bit of perspective, it may lighten your heart and allow your days to be happier. The perspective is simply this: your concerns are so small by comparison to everything else, to what is possible, to all there is and can be, that they are very little, really. Your worries are almost nothing. You could even say, dinky.
It is time for me to drift onto the unknown. And maybe I've seen too much. Maybe I need to be alone. But it's you who traveled a long